Hi there. Now we're going to do lesson 284. This lesson is the essence of what the Course in Miracles is attempting to do by training our mind to think with God and not with the ego. I am going to break this down because this explains exactly how the entire journey of self-awareness to awakening unfolds. So if you pay attention to how this is broken down, you will see that your path is somewhere on this trajectory. I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. We can change every single one, and only we can elect to do that because the thoughts that we believe become our truth if we choose to believe them to be true. So it is always up to us to elect to change these thoughts that are causing our suffering. Why? Because God did not create suffering. That is our imposition upon our mind that has us feel the separation from God only because we're choosing to do that. But if we elect to change our thoughts that hurt, we will be totally, completely free of pain and experience ourselves exactly as God created us. Paragraph 1. Loss is not loss when properly perceived. Pain is impossible. So these are statements that we need to begin to understand what they mean so that we can accept that we can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. Sentence number 3. There is no grief with any cause at all. Nothing can cause us grief. And suffering of any kind is nothing but a dream. Suffering is what we have imposed upon ourselves because we're not thinking with God. This is the truth. At first to be but said and then repeated many times, and next to be accepted as but partly true with many reservations. Yes, we're going to hear the truth. We've been hearing the truth. And then we don't believe them. At first we don't believe them. Then we begin to be open to them and we have to repeat it many times. Repeat, so it gets into the mind. Then we have accepted as partly true. We see that it works here but not there because we're not applying it consistently. With many reservations, how can I know that I am a powerful creator, that my thoughts create my reality around money when there's not enough money in the bank account? How do I know that my thoughts create my reality when I break up with my boyfriend? I didn't want to break up with him. He broke up with me. I didn't create that reality. Well, it's your thoughts about it that create the suffering. So then we move on. Sentence number 2, then to be considered seriously more and more and finally accepted as the truth. So we're going to go through lots of iterations of believing this, at first with suspicion, then we're going to accept it for some areas, then we're going to accept it for a few more areas, then eventually it becomes a truth that we accept as true and it becomes consistent. Sentence number 7, I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt. And I would go beyond these words today and pass all reservations and arrive at full acceptance of the truth in them. If you accept everything in the Course in Miracles as your truth, life would change completely. I know that there are still areas in my life that I still have my own ideas about it, and then thank goodness because I have accepted that the forgiveness is what heals everything. It's what saves me from making myself wrong and beating myself up and creating pain and suffering because I made a mistake and thought wrongly. I thought by myself and not with God. You know, when I broke up with my boyfriend Dan, who we started this relationship earlier in this year, and the relationship lasted for 8 months. It was beautiful for many months. But there were signs in there that I was not accepting what I was seeing, which were clear signs that this relationship was not moving in the direction of what I really desired. However, my ego mind wanted to convince me, and it did in many occasions because I let it, that I could help change this relationship, that my partner would change his perception about this relationship, because I wasn't listening to a guidance inside of me that was saying this is not the path for you. So I knew the truth, but I was overriding the truth because I had my own idea. I was creating my own suffering. So then when the relationship completed, Of course, I experienced some grief, but it's because I was thinking without God. It's because I was creating my own ideas about how the relationship should be instead of accepting what was happening. If I would have accepted what was happening and saw it for what it was, just a projection of where I am, then I would have been able to let it go and I would have experienced no pain, no suffering. But thank goodness that I forgave myself, so my pain and suffering was minimal. And it just allowed me to remember that as humans, we're going to go through that because we're here to see what thinking we're only human is what we experience. So we're here to see the suffering of just being only human. So let me just say this again. This is the truth when we begin to hear it. This is the truth. At first, to be but said and then repeat it many times. We say the affirmations over and over and over again. And next, to be accepted as but partly true. It works here or there with many reservations. We apply the truth inconsistently. Then to be considered seriously more and more. And the more you see the efficacy of these thoughts, that's why it's a practice that requires a lot of commitment and dedication. And finally, you accept it as the truth. Finally, I had to accept the truth that has been true always. I moved through whatever I needed to move through, and then I returned to that alignment with God, forgave myself, and now it's like, God, what would you have me do? Well, God, I'm perfect. I know everybody else is perfect. I was created for love, so let me just love on everything. And I love that man dearly. I sit in my meditation and I flow love to him, to all of the people that I have had the pleasure of having in my life that are no longer in my life for whatever reason. I still love them. Why? Because God gave everybody for me to love, which is what's so beautiful about aligning with the truth. Because I am not afraid to love today, tomorrow, yesterday. No way am I going to be afraid to love. It's beautiful, so beautiful. So paragraph 2, Father, what you have given cannot hurt, so grief and pain must be impossible. Let me not fail to trust in you today, accepting but the joyous as your gifts, accepting but the joyous as the truth. When we begin to see that what is joyful is of God and what is not, what begins to be uncomfortable, what begins to create that irritation, that's that invitation, we need to look at our thinking. If you look at your thinking and you release the thoughts that are of the ego, you forgive yourself, you move on, and the connection with your beloved, with anybody, can continue. If, however, and that's if they are in their right mind as well. If, however, you are in your right mind and somebody is not in their right mind, you've got to clearly see what's happening. Are you going to try to convince somebody to change their mind? Are you going to try and get them to change their thoughts? You can't do that. So that is our inability to accept what is, to love what is. Things are going to happen. Relationships are going to change. God knows the world is changing drastically right now. And we need to begin to be the ones who love all that we see, because it is in our loving what we see that we keep ourselves from experiencing sadness and fear and grief and anxiety and fears. And our peace is what begins to become an example of what others can have if they choose, when they choose, to clear all their thoughts, because they need to elect to change their thoughts when they're ready. It is not our job to change anybody's thoughts. It is our job to elect to change all the thoughts that hurt us. And when we no longer have those thoughts in our minds, like somebody owes me something for me to be happy, or I need to make, X amount of dollars to be happy, or I'm unhappy because I lost a job, or I'm unhappy because I lost this relationship. If we allow those thoughts that say that I cannot be happy because of something external, we are not letting ourselves experience the joy that is changeless and natural in us. It's the part of the perfection of what God created in us, because when we love all that is as it is, we cannot suffer. It is impossible, because you will be in the process of recognizing that you are a non-physical being. You're a soul, you're a spirit, having an experience as a human, here to enjoy all that is showing up in front of you. Let me repeat this lesson again. It's so powerful. Lesson 284. I can elect to change all thoughts that hurt, not one or two. You can elect to change them all if you want to. That's how powerful we are. Thanks a bunch, and I'll see you in the next lesson.